All right, here we go. We're gonna talk about Keke Palmer first. Keke is on the news, okay, but this time for good reasons. Okay, so let's talk about Keke Palmer. I just saw this a few minutes ago. I thought we should watch it. I guess she's hanging out with Dr. Drew, and she's probably trying to do, data style. Let's, let's share with the public. Let's see if they have something. Let's see what she's saying. I don't know, but this is on the Shade Room. It says on a recent episode of our podcast, Keke Palmer sits down with Dr. Drew to discuss mental health, abusive relationships, and boundaries. Interesting. I want to know. I'm curious to see what she's talking about. Let's see.
This gets me into what I wanted to also talk to you about, which is you talk about abuse, right?
Yeah.
Abuse comes from many different things. But I think this is the problem when people find themselves in abusive dynamics is what you just said. I have compassion. I know where this is coming from. You're not a terrible person. You're just dealing with this thing that makes you respond this way. But it's interesting because abuse, quote unquote, the action of abuse is seen the same way as narcissism, and it's also not really seen as a mental health issue, right? It's kind of like people don't deem an abusive person as somebody that's struggling with mental health issues, and yet are they? Because to hurt somebody and to go so far, something got to be wrong in your mind, right?
1,000%. That's absolutely true. And it can be a lot of different things that set that.
Wait, before they continue, do you agree with that, first of all? Right? Can we consider, okay, so this caption says, Keke Palmer, Dr. Drew discuss abusive relationship. People don't deem an abusive person as someone who is struggling with mental health issues. Do you agree with that? That is a mental health issue. I mean, this is just a monster that we should just castigate as soon as possible from the public. Let's get rid of them, right? How do you feel about this point here, Prestige family? Do you think this is, that sounded like giving them too much grace for you? What do you think? Let's continue. Wait, let's finish it.
Right? It can be addiction. It could be, with your own trauma.
I'm so excited because this gets me into what I want to also talk to you.
But you're absolutely correct that. So what you're getting at, I know you want to talk about boundaries, and this is a really interesting place to enter the conversation because when someone is in an abusive relationship and they're the victim of the abuse, and they tell themselves, oh, but I know he's such a great guy. He's so sensitive and I have this special understanding that he was abused. That, I don't know if you are okay with it. That is BS. That is total. That is a boundary problem. But you're absolutely correct that. So what you're getting at, I know you want to talk about.
That is interesting. It's interesting. Okay, it took another angle actually from what I thought. Okay. And it's given me some insights to share with you right now, okay? All right. So if you look at the caption again.
About which is, you talk.
If you look at the caption really quickly. What's going on, Chidima? How are you? Chidima and Rita, welcome. If you look at the caption, please make sure you hit the like button before we continue. If you look at the caption, it says people don't deem an abusive person as someone who is struggling with mental health issues. All right, so we're not saying it's not mental health issues. Okay, we're not saying you shouldn't apply grace. As a matter of fact, I do preach applying grace, right? But like I always say, you can't, like if you fall to one extreme too much, you probably will hurt yourself in that process. Okay, there's something I try to push against as much as possible here when it comes to is the grass greener on the other side? It's like, well, the grass is not greener on the other side. Well, that's not a good enough reason to stay in a toxic relationship, right? Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. I would say, I don't know what the numbers are. Sometimes it's not green on the other side. You just need to learn how to work on what you got, right? I'll tell you most of the examples I've seen, which is not stats, okay? This is not statistics, okay? Most of the example I've seen, I can always kind of like see where people can work things out, right? Can at least understand what's going on with themselves first before even worrying about the other person. But in this situation right now, it seems like if a person is saying that about, if you are the victim, remember what Dr. Drew just said, if you are the victim, that is not your place. That's another version of self-diagnosing. That is not your place. Okay, you don't need to spend so much energy on understanding where somebody is coming from. If you are feeling abused, remember, I always tell you here, if you're feeling abused, you need to back off of that situation first before you start doing assessment and doing and issuing or assigning diagnosis to your partner's situation, and then perpetuating the situation you're in. Back off first. Like, don't do that to yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Okay, so I kind of have to agree. I understand where they're coming from, that this is a boundary issue. Okay, you have to first of all draw that boundary. You shouldn't be the victim of somebody else's trauma. We all can claim to have some kind of traumatic experience that will make us start to feel like, oh, we can now abuse another person. We can all act mad, and we can all point fingers at something else's fault. Like, if we keep that up, how long are we going to keep that up for? Like, how far do you think you're going to go with that, right? Again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So I have to agree with what he's saying, right? What he's saying. If you are the victim, if you feel like you're the victim, if you feel like you're being abused in a situation, it's not your place to be diagnosing that person. It's not your place to be giving them quote unquote grace. You don't have enough to give, right? Because remember, you're feeling abused. So if you're feeling abused, how can you have enough grace to give, right? If anything, you're probably going to build on top of the resentment that you already have, and that person might just eventually, just maybe take a little longer. Eventually, they end up collecting anyway. Right. So, but with that being said, we can't judge people that, as a natural order of thing, they tend to stay, because this is a person that they love. This is a person that they used to be in love with. This is a person that they have vested interest. They have a child. Like, for example, the case of Keke Palmer, she has a child with this person. So we can't expect like, you're still in that situation, just leave. No, you're going to have to be patient with them. If you're a loved one to them, you have to just be patient with them and just be a listening ear for them if you're that close to them, and you can't really manipulating them to make move as fast as you would if it was you. In that case, if you do that, that's probably a terrible idea, okay? Because they will eventually not feel safe with you, and then they will run back to their abuser. Oh, you didn't see that coming, right? And that's not what you want, right? So let's just be guided with all this self-diagnosis stuff, because it can backfire in either direction. And this example right now, if I was to predict based off of that title, I'm like, it's not your place, okay? Don't worry about, is their mental health issue and all that stuff. If you are the victim, that is not your place. Back off of that situation first. Chidima says, giving grace might hamper the abuser's healing therapy. Yeah, you might be enabling, essentially. Right? So you're not helping them. People would take for granted anything that's readily available. If you're there, you're rewarding bad behavior. You're not incentivizing change behavior. Right? You're not incentivizing change behavior. Anyway, Chinye, welcome, Jerry. I'm G. Welcome. Let me see here. All right, great. Let's have this conversation. So that's a good one. I think a lot of people can maybe pick one or two things out of that. All right, hit that like button as you're coming in. Let's ping everyone else into the room. All right, let's ping everyone. I'll be right back.
Marrying. You're touching and kissing, make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.